continue collecting, and remember, stay casual. Welcome back, casual collectors. I'm Steelwolf
and Spider Kid,
and today we're bringing you a review of the Jada Toys Megaman and Fireman.
Both of these figures are available on Big Bad Toy Store and Amazon for the price of $19.99. Alright, and for box details, on the front we see both figures is a nice little health bar and their accessories. And for the side, it's the same thing with Mega Man and the rest of the window. And for the back, you can see a product shot of both figures and their accessories. And for the side, you can see the same thing that was on the other side. And for the top, nothing much besides Mega Man. And for the bottom, nothing much. Alright, and all that said, let's get them both opened.
Alright, and here we have Megaman and Fireman out of their packaging, looking pretty freaking sweet. They definitely got that shine going on. I mean, check that out. They're glistening. Very freaking cool figures. Alright, so with that little sneak peek out the way, let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the accessories that these guys come with. Alright, so here we have all the accessories for Megaman and Fireman. And again, we removed the head and the hands that were already attached to the figures just to kind of give you an overall presentation of everything. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with Fireman here on the left, and let's start with the head sculpt. So let's go ahead and grab this guy here. And taking a closer look, yeah, that's freaking cool. Look at that. It's not very complicated, but it works. It definitely captures the look from the original games. Definitely does. We got that flesh tone there. We got the blue eyes. He's kind of looking to the side there very menacingly. Very cool. And we got these details here for like the sides of the ears. That looks really cool too, as you can see. And we got even some subtle sculpting there, some lines there that are sculpted. That looks good. Nice yellow there. We got this nice black paint in between here. Kind of makes it look like a furnace or something, so very cool. Same thing on that side. Nothing on the... Oh, never mind. We do have something on the back of the head. We got this little triangle there, and we got these like look like vents there, painted in a nice green, very light green paint. So very neat. Here is the top, and that's our peg hole there where we can port in one of those effects. So very cool looking head sculpt. All right, let's take a look at the other one. All right, and here's the other head sculpt that comes with Fireman. And again, very nice looking head sculpt. This one is looking straight ahead. And we still don't get an expression on his face, but you know what though, it still looks good. And not much difference other than the actual expression on the face. As you can see, same thing on the ears there, what looked like to be the ears. Big old scuff mark right there. And then same paint in the back, the green, the yellow triangle. Same on this side. Same black right there, and then the same top. So not too bad at all. Alright, next thing, let's take a look at some of the actual effects that come with Fireman. And again, these effects right here actually double as Fireman's hands. Since he doesn't actually have hands, these are in place of his hands, which are also his effects and fire powers that he actually fires through his hands. So pretty freaking cool, I say. Sculpted very nicely in that nice translucent plastic, so it looks very good. There's a big old peg right there. Very nice. Let's take a look at the other one here. Here is the other one that would go on the other hand, so you can basically mix and match or choose which one you want on the left, which one you want on the right. And it is sculpted differently, as you can see. So very neat that we get two of these guys, but we do get two for each, one for each hand. Next we have this other one, and this one goes on the top of his head, and as you can see, it definitely is sculpted differently as well. But the cool part is that if you don't want this one to go on the head, you can actually put this one on one of the hands. So you can mix and match between any one of these three here on which ones you want on the hand and which one you want on the head. So very, very neat. And again, check out that sculpt. So definitely looks really cool. And last but not least for the effects, we have this sort of like ovalish looking effect here. Definitely different here. But this one, I believe, is the one that is actual effect as if he's firing it off. And as you can see, we do have a hole right there, and that's going to be because he does come with a effect stand, as you can see here. And we will show you how all that looks in just a second. So neat. But before we do that, let's go ahead and move on to Mega Man. Now, as you can see, Mega Man also comes with his own stand here for his effect. And since we're talking about effects, let's take a look at Mega Man's effect. So here we have one of Mega Man's blasts here. Now, this is not his charged blast. This is just one of his regular shots that he fires. And it's sculpted in a nice translucent yellow, which looks really good. And it's got kind of like a light yellowish kind of color to it, which seems pretty accurate to the game. So very, very neat. And this one as well, if I can find it here, is going to have a peg hole. There we are. And that's because, again, we just showed you the stand for this effect. So very cool that we get an effect, a stand, two head sculpts, and a couple of hands, all for 20 bucks. That's very awesome. All right, before we go on, let's take a look at the head sculpts. So right away, we got this first head sculpt here, and this is a nice classic Mega Man look. So yeah, blue eyes, we got the nice little smirk on the face, you know, nice helmet there, sculpted very nicely. Nothing too crazy with sculpt or design, but it just works. And look at all this detail inside there, very nice. Got that reddish, purplish paint. Very cool. Although I feel like maybe he's missing paint right here, or maybe that was just Mega Man X, but still very cool looking mohawk on here. As you can see, that looks very awesome, very Mega Man. So very cool, and very shiny too. So, and the next head sculpt here, we have more of an angry or grittier face here, kind of like he just fired a shot, or he's right about to fight the boss. So very cool looking head sculpt, nice expression there. Not much differences in the sculpt of the helmet. We can even see there's some vents back here there. Didn't notice that on the other helmet, but yeah, they're there. And again, same sculpting for this earpiece here, so very, very neat on this head sculpt. And again, glad that we get at least 2. Next are these sets of hands for Mega Man, and we get one kind of an opened hand. This kind of reminds me of his hand when he jumps up. And then we have this kind of like a thumbs up / holding hand. So very neat. We get one of each. Very cool. Not much detail to them, but there doesn't need to be. And the next set of hands that we get from Mega Man are 2 fisted hands. I'm so glad that they gave us 2 of these instead of just 1. So very cool. And again, there's not much to the sculpt, there's not much detail, but there doesn't need to be. And last but not least, we have Mega Man's Buster Cannon. So very freaking cool, man. Look at this thing. Love it. And we got the paint right here, the yellow, which indicates, you know, his, I want to say his charge shot, or if not the charge shot, it's going to be his weapon selector for the different power-ups that he gets. Very cool, man. Love that. And then in the front, we get some paint there. That's awesome. There's no peg hole to put in a effect or anything, but with the stand and the free-floating effect, that's all we need, because this thing is going to look so cool. And as you can see, it is on a hinge with a peg there that will peg into the arm. So very freaking cool. And that's going to do it for all the accessories that come with Mega Man and Fireman. But before we get into some details on the figures themselves, let's go ahead and try out all these accessories on the figures so that we can see what they look like. Alright, let's bring out Fireman first here, and as you can see, we went ahead and ported these on his hands, where his hands would be, and they look great. Again, he doesn't have actual hands, these flames are his hands. And we went ahead and used this one here for the head. Now, we just learned this because we assumed that all 3 of these could be ported in there, but it turns out that this particular one will not port into the head, and we will show you why. So before we do that, let's go ahead and remove this one, and we'll just kind of swap it around. So we'll take this one now, and let's put this one on the head here, and kind of, yeah, that looks great. Look at that, we can turn to the side to give it more of effect, and then we have this one here, we can put this one on the hand, and there you go, look at that. So it definitely changes the look, so very neat. And now the reason why this one will not port, and we will show you here, let's remove this, put that one on this hand, so to say, and then you're going to see that the reason why this doesn't port in is because this circle area is too, I should say, this part is not long enough, it won't clear, as you can see, look, it won't. It's just off by just a little bit, that it will not go down. I mean, you can probably force it in, but I don't know if that works very well. Let's see here. Yeah, no, it's not going to work very well. It's just off by just about a half an inch, and it would have fit. And I think that would have looked great. I mean, check that out. I think that would look really good on the head. But unfortunately, this one does not port in there, so just be advised. But it's not a deal breaker. It's still very cool, and it's still very customizable if you ask me. So very neat for Fireman. All right, let's take a look at Mega Man here. And for Mega Man, as you can see, we put on him the smirking face, which looks really nice. And then we went ahead and placed one of his actual fisted hands, as well as the opened hand. And yeah, he looks great. All right, and bringing Fireman back out, we went ahead and switched the head sculpts, and yeah, that looks great, man. Check that out. That looks good. So whether you use this flame effect on the head or that one, it's going to look great either way. So very, very cool. And bringing Mega Man back out, we went ahead and replaced that fisted hand with that kind of thumbs up or holding hand. And yeah, that definitely changes the look. So very neat. And here we have him with his Buster Cannon. And look at that. That looks sick. I mean, man, does that look awesome. Especially with that head sculpt. Ah, it looks great. I mean, it looks like you can literally just fire one of these guys out. Look at that. Oh man, that looks cool. So very freaking cool with this Mega Man. And then just so you guys know, with this Buster gun, you can actually either equip it on his left or on his right hand. You just have to make sure that if you're going to equip it on the hands, that once you pop the, or I should say the arm, you pop the hand off, okay? And you do not put the Buster gun here. You have to pop off this thing too, so that you can actually get the Buster gun to fit properly, because look, the Buster gun actually has a hinge on there. And if you would leave the other part in there, if you would leave this part in there, it would just look way too long and awkward. So just be advised that when you're equipping the Buster cannon, to make sure that you pop off this, depending on which side you put it on. But you can do it on either or side. Alright, and last but not least, for these accessories, here we have the effects along with their respective stands. And you know what? This is how you would use them or display them. I mean, obviously you can display the figures how you want, but this is kind of the general idea of what you would do or you could do. And I gotta say, it works and it looks great. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into some closer details on these characters. Alright, so let's take a closer look at Mega Man here. So right away, again, really cool head sculpt. We already covered the helmet, the paint apps on the helmet, and also the face, which again came out looking really nice. It's very simple. I mean, this whole design is simple, at least when it comes to looks. But you know what? That's how the character was, and they executed it very nicely. But regardless, let's continue down here on some details. So right away, we can see what we have. Cool looking collar here there, and it's a different shade of blue. It's like a little bit of a darker blue versus this kind of a lighter blue right here on the chest area. And then we can see that the arms have that same lighter blue, but then we come down to the actual Buster cannon or the Buster gun, and we can see that it's a darker blue, kind of the same shade as the helmet there. And I like the shades of blue that they use. And we got this cool little paint app right here that kind of mimics the inside part of the cannon where it would be firing off the energy blasts. And then I love this other detail right here, this yellow paint that they put in here for the actual Buster gun. And you know, you can say that this is for how he switches weapons. These are buttons to switch weapons, or that this is his actual health gauge right here, or that it's the indicator of how he's charging or shooting his weapon. Who knows? But the fact that it's there, it's very cool, and I love it. Now back over here on the other arm, same thing. We got those same shades of blue there. Here is his fisted hand that we left on him, so very cool. And then we also get the same type of blue as the chest on the, like, you know, ab area here, or the stomach area. But it almost looks like it's a darker shade, almost. Maybe it's just the camera there. But down to the shorts or to the hip area, we can see that it's all that same shade of blue as the hands and the arms are, as well as the helmet. And then we get more of a matte color for this inside part of the leg there. So yeah, definitely a different shade of blue there. And then we get that same lighter shade of blue over here, and there's a very minor little detail right here that kind of makes it look like he's wearing armor. So very neat. And then down to the boots. Love the way these boots came out. Very iconic Mega Man-ish, if you ask me. But they look very cool, and they got that nice shade of darker blue. Again, there's no other crazy details, but it just looks really good, you know? There's the Mega Butt. And down to the feet area, this is a cool detail. I love this. You know, these things look like they're little like jet boosters that he would use maybe to jump, but he never really used these as far as I know in the original games. We got to see that more in the Mega Man X series, but these are there and they look very cool. So yeah, there you go, and those are the details for Mega Man. Let's go ahead and move over to Fireman. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with Fireman here, and again, we already covered this head sculpt. We went ahead and removed this up here, and we got to see that there is some sculpt up there, so let's move on down to the body. And for this guy, we got a gray and red color scheme, which looks really good, man. Again, very simple. There's not crazy amount of details, but what they gave us does look good, you know? So nice shades of red here for this armor, and then we got like this under armor that's all in gray. And then we have a lighter shade of gray for the hip area there, as well as for the legs and the feet. You compare it to this shade of gray there on the stomach area and in between the arms here where the actual armor sets place. So not bad, nice colors there. And I like how shiny and glossy it is, so it definitely gives off that look as if these guys are made out of metal, so very cool. Now as for the inside of this actual arm here, after we remove the actual effect, we can see that they added different paint there, some yellow paint. There's no sculpt, but it's got different paint, so a nice little detail there. Let's remove this one and see if this one has it as well. And yep, it does have it, so very cool. I mean, you can definitely display this guy without those effects, you know, to make it look like he hasn't fired off his flame attacks yet. So very cool that there's something there versus nothing, so very neat. And I like the way that they sculpted these shoulder pads. They look very cool like that. And as you can see, they don't really get in the way of the articulation, so very, very neat that they added those and that they work very well with them, so very neat. And again, we see that same little detail right here as we saw with Megaman, so very cool. And we can see that they actually painted this guy's knees there, or his kneecaps or knee armor here, in that same red as they did up here. So that looks really cool. I like that contrast of the gray and the red, so very, very neat. And it almost looks like we have a lighter shade of gray there for the feet compared to this gray on the legs. So very neat. Like the way that they use these different shades of these colors. Now here's the back, and again, the red part for the kneecap comes all the way back here, almost as if it was a separate part. So nice job on actually following through with that paint there. As for the back area, we get a nice little detail here, so that looks really cool. Whether that's an exhaust vent or some kind of a battery meter or whatever, that looks really cool on that. Kind of like a yellowish, almost neon green paint that they use there. Almost very similar to this one up here that they use for the helmet, of that kind of neon green there for this area here, which again, I don't know if that's a vent or whatnot. Very cool. And I think it's these little tiny little details like this that really make this figure pop, you know, besides the actual big bright colors, but very, very neat for this guy. Now, as for the bottom of the feet, we get those same looking things that look like the little thrusters. Not sure if they are or not. If you guys know, definitely let us know. And I didn't notice this on the Mega Man one. I'm just noticing this now, but as you can see, they use two different types of red here. We have a darker red for this circle in the inside, and more of a lighter or heavier red on the outer ring of that circle. So very cool. As well as some sculpt here on the sides. Very, very neat. So do like that, and that is very cool. And that's going to do it for all the details on Fireman. Alright, so for some articulation on Mega Man here, let's go ahead and start with his head. He can look up about that much, which isn't really much at all, as you can see there. But he can look down a hell of a lot, which is really good. Very neat. Let's try that one more time. So up about that much. And you can see that it's the bottom of the helmet there that is hitting that neck peg right there. So kind of sucks he can't look up very much, but I mean, you can make it work. You know, if you incorporate this ab joint here, you can make it work, and it'll definitely look like he's looking up. But as for just strictly the head, not much movement looking up, but a hell of a lot looking down. Now, does he have a head tilt? Let's see. Yep, he can tilt his head, as you can see there, and he does not. Actually, he does have a little bit of a pile driver motion there on the neck, so okay. Let's see, and he can spin his head completely around, as you can see there. No problem. His shoulders can go up about that much, which is basically just your standard T-pose there, so nothing too crazy there, but you know, they can move up, as you can see. And for his arm, the arms can actually rotate completely around, as you can see, so very neat. And they have that single jointed elbow, and the elbow can not only bend into about that much, but it can also swivel there at the bicep, so very neat. The elbow will go into about that much, and you can see it's pretty much touching his face, so that's not too shabby at all. Not at all. And as for the actual hand here, his hand can swivel there, as you can see, and he does have just a slight bit of a hinge that looks like it is a horizontal hinge, which will allow it to go down, but it doesn't really work very well just because of the cuffs right here around this area here on the wrist. But there is a hinge, and you can see that it slightly does go down, and here it goes back up. Moving down to the chest area, it looks like he is on what looks like a ball peg there, and which allows him to rotate just like this, and it can also allow him to tilt to the sides, as you can see there, and he can actually ab crunch forward about that much, which isn't much really, and he can ab crunch back a lot better, as you can see, so not too shabby. Now he can also swivel at the waist, as you can see, the waist actually does swivel. Moving further down to the actual legs, he can do the splits about that much, and he can kick forward about that much, and he can kick back about that much. As for the lower legs there, he has this what looks like an upper thigh cut, or at least mimics one, which allows the whole leg to kind of rotate, or just the actual upper thigh right there. And moving further down, he has single jointed knees that will go into about that much. And then if you hold the thigh there, he actually does have a boot swivel or a calf swivel. You just got to hold that thigh there, and as you can see, it actually rotates right there at that knee. So that's really neat. but his feet can kick down to about that much, and they will kick up about that much, which isn't really much at all. And obviously he does have ankle pivot, as you can see there. But that's going to do it for all the articulation on Megaman. Alright, so for some articulation on Fireman, he can look up a hell of a lot. I wish Megaman was able to do that, but he can look up pretty damn good. And he can look down a lot as well, as you can see there. So very nice. I wish Megaman would have had this upward movement here, but unfortunately he did not. And as you can see, it looks like it's due to the fact that he actually does have a hinge right there at the base of the neck, which is what's giving him that extra motion. So maybe Megaman does have that. Let's take a look here. I didn't notice that, and no, he does not have that. So that's unfortunate, but Fireman did have that. So that's what kind of gives him the ability to look up a lot more. So very nice. You can actually tilt his head, as you can see there. No problems with that. You can actually spin the head completely around, you can see there. And he does have a little bit of that pile driver motion, as you can see there as well. Moving over to the shoulder area, he can actually move his shoulders upwards about that much, which is a little bit above a standard T-pose, as you can see there. And the arms will actually rotate completely around as well. And he has only a single joint there at the bicep, which allows it to go in to about that much. Not only can he actually bend at the elbow there, but right at the elbow or the bicep, he can actually rotate, as you can see. So it does swivel. And once you put the flame effects, they can also swivel, as you can see. Now back to the chest area here. Just like Megaman, he's sitting on this ball joint right at the upper body there, which allows him to tilt, as you can see, and kind of rotate as well. And that's what he's going to use for an ab crunch. So he can ab crunch forward about that much, which isn't a lot. And you can ab crunch back a hell of a lot. He can actually swivel at the waist as well, as you can see, just like Megaman. And his legs, he can do the splits about that much. Now he can kick forward about that much, and he can kick back about that much. And he does have an upper thigh cut, as you can see here, or at least one that mimics an upper thigh cut right there, that allows the whole leg to actually swivel there. And he does have single jointed knees that will kick back to about that much, so not too shabby. Now this guy can actually swivel also at the knee area here, which is kind of mimicking your boot cut or your calf swivel. And moving down towards the foot, he can kick down about that much. He can kick up, not so much at all. But he also does have ankle pivot. And that's going to do it for all the articulation on Fireman. Alright, to measure these guys out here, Megaman actually comes in just right at the 4.5. I would say maybe right a little bit underneath that. And Fireman comes in right at the 5.5 mark. And that's counting the bottom of his foot all the way to the top of the flame there on the head. Alright, for some size comparison with other toy lines, here we have the Megaman figures next to the Jada Toys Street Fighter II Ryu, as well as the Jack-specific Super Mario from the Super Mario movie. And I gotta say, if you're going for that look of Super Smash Bros., well, this is a start right here. Alright, for some other comparisons with other toy lines, here we have the Megaman figures next to the G.I. Joe Classified Cobra Bat on the right, and then on the left there we have them next to the DC Essentials Cyborg Superman. And for another size comparison, these Megaman figures here are next to the Marvel Legends X-Men 97 Wolverine there on the left, as well as the Marvel Legends Retro 3.75 inch line Sentinel. And I gotta say, that Wolverine with that Megaman definitely is giving off Marvel vs. Capcom vibes. And for another comparison, here we have them next to the Mezco Logan, as well as the SH Figure Arts Super Saiyan Blood Vegeta. Alright, and for another comparison here with other toy lines, we have the Mega Man figures next to a Funko Mega Man Dr. Wily figure. And I gotta say, this guy looks perfect with these Mega Man figures. So I hope that Jada Toys will actually... give us a Dr. Light and a Wily at some point. If the line is successful, I hope they go that route, because that would be very awesome to have. And for our last comparison here, we have the Mega Man figures next to the DC Multiverse Superman, as well as the Fortnite Victory Royale series Shadow Meowscles. Alright, final thoughts. Visually, are they cool looking characters? Oh yeah, and I know that sounds like a broken record, but man, these particular guys, they look great. Despite how simple their designs are, they look great. They look like they just got, taken out from their respective video games, or the same video game. But I mean, they look great. I love the colors. They're nice and vibrant. I like the contrast between the different reds, grays, the blues. It looks really good. I like the fact that Jada Toys actually gives us accessories. I mean, look at Flame Man, for example, or Fireman. They gave us, 4 flame effects. 2 for the hands, 1 for his head. And those are all interchangeable. And then they also gave us the flame effect that he's actually firing. So I thought that was very cool. And then we get an additional head sculpt for each character for $20. Amazing. So there you go. Look absolutely amazing. Price point, $20. Can't go wrong with that. Accessories, plenty. Even for Megaman. For Megaman, we get 2 additional hands. We get the Buster Cannon. The Buster Cannon can actually go on each arm. We get 2 head sculpts, and we even get an effect for him. Articulation-wise, they don't have any fancy double joints, nothing like that, butterfly joints, but what they do have works very, very well for them. And I don't know if it's because of how small they are, but I mean, the fact that we can get Mega Man to place his open hand on top of his Buster gun to mimic that iconic look for him, amazing that he can do that without having double elbows or butterfly joints. And Fireman is no exception. I mean, he too can perform all that. So that's very neat that they both can articulate very, very well. Packaging wise, I enjoyed the packaging. Thought that was pretty cool. Kind of made it with that little bit of a energy thing and some artwork on there. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I got nothing bad to say about these guys. All I'm saying is that I hope that we get Rush, and I hope that he can transform into the Rush Jet and maybe have an accessory that attaches to him to create the Rush Coil. I hope we get that. So here's fingers crossed. And the fact that they just announced not too long ago about Proto Man, oh, forget about it. Definitely love that.
Even though they are small figures, surprisingly they have a lot of articulation despite the size. And the colors are really vibrant too. I like how both of them are all glossy and all that. Accessories could have been a lot more different heads. But yet again, this is only the first series, so there's a lot more to come out of it. I don't have really much complaints about it. Other than that, again, I wish there was more accessories, but it's pretty good.
Alright, it's that time again, folks, for that rating. And as always, it's there on the left. And I'm going to go ahead and have to give these guys a rating of...
My rating is going to be...
And that's going to do it for our review on the Jada Toys Megaman and Fireman. I'm Steelwolf.
And Spider Kid.
Continue collecting, and remember, stay casual.